Okay, so the purpose of this educational is to explore how to present an adjudication verdict. So the adjudicator has the primary responsibility of assigning a score to each debating team, and that's a score out of 100. Now, how to adjudicate itself is its own education area, where you learn about how to actually score the arguments, and how to score content, and how to score how well the individuals perform rebuttals, and how well they use their style to get across their point, and how well they work together as a team. So those are the 5 pillars, but that's a whole different exercise, really, of how to score that. The point of this is actually to explain to you what you do during those 10 minutes of time when you are the adjudicator, and how you present your adjudication verdict. So first of all, what the audience here doesn't want to hear is just a complete rehash of the debate, point by point. Because you will see the adjudicators, they will be making notes like crazy throughout the entire debate, because they're writing down what they're hearing so that they can score it afterwards. But reading from that is not very interesting to the audience in present. They want to hear insight into the debate. They want to hear how well the teams did in each of the categories, not just how well they did in like only a couple of categories. Usually what we hear about are only from argumentation and content, as in how well you chose your arguments and then how well you supported them with content. So a good way to begin would just to begin with the adjudication scorecard, which there are some available that are actually around. You can actually find this on the website now. This is just a little grid that shows you how you can score the different teams in the different areas. And again, that's arguments, so like point 1, 2, 3. Content, which is just evidence, saying like as according to an article in this, according to a study in this, that's all content. And rebuttals is how well they were able to create counterpoints to the arguments that were created by the government or the opposition. And then teamwork. Do the debaters work together? Does it seem like they actually met before the debate to kind of talk about it? How well did that flow? Because there can be a nice contrast, comparison, but if they start coming at you from like different angles and it doesn't really have a nice cohesion, then there might be a problem. And style and rhetoric is how well did they express their arguments to you? How convincing and how persuasive were they in their rhetorical devices, use of humor, and that type of thing. So if you just use this as a guide, and you go through and you talk about each area, say I liked the arguments that they came up with, here are some things I felt were lacking, like if we were having a debate about something very topical, and then something really topical doesn't actually come into the debate, it becomes all about like history and something is missing, then that's a good time to bring that up. And content, we want to hear about how well did they choose their sources. Does it seem like they just went to Google for everything, which is usually true? That's what we want to hear about. Source, exactly. The adjudicator wants to tell us about this. And we want to hear about the rebuttals and the refutations, and we want to hear about all of this. We want to hear about how well the debaters did in each of these different areas. And you can break it up and talk about the debaters individually, or you can talk about them strictly as a team base. You don't need to give a score for each individual person, but at the end we would like to hear the actual score for the team out of 100. So for example, the motion is defeated because the opposition received 62 points and the government received 43 points. And then the discussion about why those point discrepancies can take place at the pub after the debate. And of course, the adjudicator also will select a best speaker for this evening, and the adjudicator is encouraged to choose whatever methods they wish to select the best debater. The only thing is that you actually don't need to give a best speaker if you thought the debate was not very good that night.
I'm curious about, have we ever had an occasion where we didn't offer a best debater designation?
Yes. Yes, we have.
Because I think it's very debatable whether or not that's appropriate. I mean, you can have a debate that in your opinion wasn't that good, but you can still have somebody who was the best of the ones who weren't good, the best of the worst, so to speak.
The particular circumstances escape me right now, but I know we have.
It was Jim Smith.
Like, you got to be pretty bad.
Yes, I was not the best debater that night.
Anyway.
And of course, the secondary reason for an adjudicator to deliver his verdict is to identify not just the strengths and weaknesses of each team, but to provide constructive criticism on how to improve. So to give in, this is what you did wrong, and this is what was a little weaker or lacking, but then how can they do better? And hopefully the debaters there will be sitting there taking notes, be like, yes, you know what, that's right. Or they can watch themselves on YouTube afterwards and see how they can improve. And that is how to deliver an adjudication verdict.